Theresa completely flipped out because she is saying that if her kids don't like Jon, then she can't go forward with Jon. And I kind of understand that because she says her kids are everything, but her kids are grown. Hello, everybody. I have made it to episode 5 of Age of Attraction. Been doing one episode a day here on the channel. This is the last episode until I believe 2 new episodes drop on Wednesday. We had a lot more drama in this episode. Of course, the most dramatic couple is Vanel and Jorge, which does not surprise me. They have been a mess since Jump. I'm sorry, but I think Vanelle has a lot of issues that I hope she takes care of off of the show. You know, shows like this, a lot of dating shows, tend to have people where at some point during the season, you think to yourself, oh yeah, I understand why this person is on a dating show because they are a mess. And I feel that way about kind of a lot of people after this episode. This episode kind of made me dislike a lot of the cast, so that's not always great. We will start with Vanelle and Jorge, though. Vanelle's celibacy became a big discussion in this episode, even though in just the last episode she was all over Jorge. She didn't seem to like it when he said he didn't know how he feels about her celibacy. And Vanelle is saying she's not going to waver on the celibacy, but Jorge does want them to continue to be intimate. And I just became very confused by their entire arguments in this episode. She was also upset because something happened off camera when they were out walking together and some guy approached them and Jorge got into it with the guy, but like apparently he had something in his hand to the guy. Vanelle felt uncomfortable in that situation, but like that wasn't Jorge's fault. If some weird guy is approaching you and Jorge wants to see what the hell the guy's doing, I felt like Vanelle was being a little too hard about that situation. I get that she was uncomfortable, but I'm sure Jorge was too, which is why he got into it with the guy. I did see somebody in the comments say, because I've been trying to avoid spoilers, but someone said that there was another argument happening and that Vanelle maybe just came up with something to argue about because she saw that the connection wasn't working. But then by the end, Vanelle is still crying about the connection, saying she's never felt like this about someone. Vanelle needs to get it together. She was by far the most confusing person this season because in their other argument, they're discussing her celibacy. And if some woman tells me that they're celibate, I'm going to assume that means they don't want to do anything sexual. You know, I'm assuming they still want to kiss, maybe at most make out with some light touching. But their argument made it seem like they went to third base. They still did some sexual stuff. And I completely understand why Jorge was confused about her saying she's celibate and then complaining about his reaction to her being celibate. But at the same time, they're still going to third base. Like, make it make sense because it doesn't make sense for now. So I'm not surprised this didn't work out. I still don't understand why Vanelle saw that connection with Jorge in the first place. To me, watching them play out in the first 2 episodes, they did not have that connection. She had a actual stronger connection with Justin, although Justin dodged a bullet. He should be happy that Vanelle did not pick him because she's a mess. Just not surprised that these two fell apart and called it off after 2 arguments. I mean, I will say that Jorge is not innocent in this at all. He kept that information from her about his kids in the first place. And then during the argument, he's just not so surprisingly stuck in his ways at 60 years old. I'm not surprised that he's stuck in his ways about what they were arguing about. So they were never going to work from jump. They were a cringe couple. I don't know how Vanelle didn't see it. I still think my theory in my last video that Vanelle has a fetish with old men. That has to be the only reason why she thought this connection was stronger than it was. And then even after they ended it, she was still crying about how she never felt this way about someone before. Just strange all around to me. Let's move on to Andrew and Libby, who woke up sleeping in the same bed. It seems like Libby continues to let her guard down with Andrew. That's kind of been their storyline over these past few episodes. That Andrew has been patient with Libby and, just letting her slowly break down her walls. I will say that Andrew tries way too much to like come off as smooth in a lot of his conversations with Libby. I don't know if that's just his personality or if he just feels like he always has to be on with her because she's so young and he really, really wants her or something. I don't know. It's kind of the vibe I get. But Libby says that commitment doesn't scare her, and Andrew says that he's good with her still living her life and having fun as long as they're together, and she doesn't forget about him. And then they did their I'm a bad bitch affirmations that I guess Libby likes to do. They're not going to work out. I mean, let's just be real, though. I have come to like Andrew more than I thought I would, but watching them, Libby does not have the maturity to want this long-term relationship. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. I know that Andrew says in confessionals that he's getting the deeper side of Libby. I do believe that she has let her guard down more and more each day, but I don't see it for them in the future. Jon and Teresa seem to just be having a lot of sex, and I'm starting to think that's the only reason that Teresa is enjoying this relationship, to get her 20-something-year-old in bed all the time. But they also had the serious discussion about how if he wants kids, she is too old to get pregnant anymore. Even if she did get pregnant, it would be unhealthy. Jon is saying he does not want kids right now. He doesn't know if that will change in the future. It is a conversation they need to have because of Teresa's age. But then at the end of the episode, when all of the couples came together again and learned that their families are coming, Teresa completely flipped out because she is saying that if her kids don't like Jon, then she can't go forward with Jon. And I kind of understand that because she says her kids are everything. But her kids are grown. Her kids are grown. Like, their opinion really shouldn't be the biggest deal if that Jon and Teresa connection is as good as it actually seems. Jon seems really into this relationship, and I think he is being more mature than her 54-year-old ass by the end of these 5 episodes. So yeah, we also see in the preview she's going to get into it with Leah, though Leah does talk too much. She's a Gemini, I believe. I looked at some of their astrology signs. Leah's one of the only ones I remember. She is definitely a Gemini. She cannot keep her mouth shut, even in situations when she probably should, which means we probably should talk about Chris and Leah next. They had a conversation about how Chris used to feel like he couldn't settle down fully until his dad passed away because his dad's been sick and sometimes he has to take care of him. They also had the important conversation that she lives in LA, he lives in Florida. Would he be willing to move to California closer to her family? He doesn't know if he wants to leave his family. I've been saying all along that this Chris and Leah connection gives... They want a good time, not a long time. And their honeymoon phase already seems to be leaving them. I don't think these two want anything real. Even though Leah might be saying that she does, I don't know if I fully believe it. And that leaves Vanessa and Logan, who he was still feeling some kind of way about her calling them roommates, and him saying that he's not sure if that's her insecurities. Yeah, it was her insecurities. In fact, this was another episode dedicated to Vanessa's insecurities. I cannot stand watching this woman anymore by the end of this episode. They talked about if he had a spark for her. She was expecting that because he's 29, there was going to be sparks flying all the time, like it was the 4th of July. The real thing here is that Vanessa thought that they were going to be, fucking like rabbits after she heard that Teresa and Jon were doing that. And she feels some kind of way about that. And that is not only an insecurity on her part, but it's her trying to compete with Teresa, in my opinion. They did end up getting intimate. It seemed like, she had to really get them going, but they got going. And now Logan is calling her Lieutenant Vanessa, whatever that means. But, she is getting him together. She is not concerned about their lack of intimacy anymore, but she did mention after they finally had sex, she can't wait to tell Teresa, which to me is another sign that she's just trying to compete with the other older woman in their group. It's too much. Vanessa's too much. She also showed her insecurities at the end of the episode again. We'll get there in a second. I forgot we need to talk about Derrick and Pfeiffer, which is, at this point, the only couple that I'm rooting for. I did learn that she is a Pisces and he is a Cancer. I hate to be the one to get into the astrology, but that explains so much about these two to me. They have that softer connection. It's total water signs. These two are total water signs. And that's a good thing. I mean that as a good thing. A lot of people want to talk shit about water signs when they talk about astrology, especially in relation to dating shows. I think these two are a good example. I do still worry what their physical attraction level actually is for each other. I don't think these two have had sex yet, or we haven't seen that from what I remember. But we did learn that she is worried about being introduced to his kids because when she was younger, a lot of people in her family used to wait to introduce significant others to children. But he agrees. I think that he is very mature, obviously, about his kids meeting someone new in his life. I feel like he does want to do it in a healthy way. He's also hoping that she can be the one to move to Dallas with him because obviously he has his kids and he can't move right now. In the preview for these next couple episodes, when the family comes, I do think Pfeiffer ends up being very nervous about Derrick meeting her parents. It's going to be tough for a lot of these people when the families come. But it kind of annoys me because I don't honestly think certain family members should have a say. I really don't think parents should have too much of a say in love lives after you're over 20 years of age. I think people need to live their own lives. Children's a little different, especially younger children. I do feel like that is obviously way more of an important connection that needs to be discussed. But Teresa's old-ass children, I don't think should have as much of a say as Teresa is saying that they're going to. Because people need to live their own damn lives. And I get it. Teresa's oldest is a couple years older than Jon. It's awkward. But if the relationship is going as smoothly and the connection is there as strongly as Teresa and Jon's connection seems to be, are you really going to let your grown-ass children dictate your life? I don't know. Teresa was acting way too annoying by the end of the episode with that. We'll see how it all plays out. Vanessa was the other one. She was having a fit because Logan had a reaction when it was said that the families are coming. But Logan is saying his reaction is because He doesn't usually introduce people to his family anyway, the people that he's dating, so this is kind of a new thing for him. Vanessa, of course, is freaking out because she just cannot control her goddamn insecurities. It's been every single episode with her now, and I'm frankly so over it. I feel bad for Logan because I feel like she's put so much pressure on him, whether it came to pressuring him into sex, now putting her own insecurities on his back. She's way too insecure for someone that's pushing 50. She's about to be 50 years old. It's ridiculous. And I still believe, much like I said in my last video, if it was the opposite, if she was a guy and he was a girl, the discussion would be so much more controversial. I mean, look at Jorge and Vanelle. I feel like a lot of people are giving most of the shit to Jorge, and he deserves a lot of shit. But Vanelle has been all over the place, and she's kind of a hypocrite. So yeah, I actually do feel bad for Logan with his relationship with Vanessa. She is the lieutenant, all right, but she is a very, very insecure lieutenant.